to the Indie Wrestling Guide with your hosts, the Hall of Fame referee, JHawk, the not-so-mysterious benefactor, JGold, and the legendary Charly Butters.
We got our trading cards in.
And they look fucking sweet.
I am so stoked. AIW this Friday. I will be in attendance, so you potentially can get your cards. Then I will have some packs on me. I got to get some signed for some people, so they will exist and be on my person if you see me at AIW Friday. They are $5 a pack, and yeah, so if you see me, ask for them. All the wrestlers will have their own individual cards as well to sell with their autograph, you know, whatever they want to do with it. So don't be afraid to get it that way as well. Well, I guess we should talk about another wrestler died in the ring since last week.
We went a long time without one, and we had two within a week of each other. It's getting a little scary, not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of companies now saying that they want EMTs and stuff like that at their shows, just in case.
Yeah, I know several companies. Mega did it. RPW did it. Doing blood pressure and heart rate checks in the locker room before the show. And if you're above a certain level, they won't let you work, which I'm probably going to speed up my retirement with my blood pressure being what it is. But I mean, it's the right call. Right,
and it's better than taking the risk of JHawk going down for the 3 in the ring. Although I guess that's the way to go, right? You want to go out like the Ram, right? Counting that 3, 1, 2, 3, heart attack, dead.
I'd like to stick around a little while longer. I got kids, but
yeah, that's true. You do.
I mean, I just spent $120 for Guardian ticket for my son's birthday. I'd like to at least make it that long. That could be a neat day though. It could be Star Wars night, like a special ticket. You get a little Grogu beanie.
Okay.
With it,
So I got the new series of Unrivaled in from AEW. Came straight from ringside.
Nice.
To sell at the shop, right? Super excited. It's got Willow in it. It's got Swerve Strickland in it. His first with his current look. Open it up. No Swerve. 2 kill switches.
Of all the ones get an extra of it, kill switch. And I'm not saying that to knock on kill switch, but
I'll say it. I was fucking pissed. So I emailed them immediately. They're like, "Oh, we're so sorry. We'll send you out a Swerve right away. Here's a prepaid label. Send us back kill switch." So I was like, "All right,
that's fair." If they're going to send you an extra, they could have sent you an extra Willow.
If they would have done that, I wouldn't have fucking complained. Or 2 Swerves, I wouldn't have complained about not getting a kill switch. Let me tell you. Would not have complained at all, but my backups are coming anyway. I pre-ordered Willow and Swerve for myself personally before I ordered the whole set for the store. So those are coming. I should have those Wednesday. So I'm excited because I'm going to have that Swerve signed actually next month on April 26th at the wrestling convention out in Indiana. So excited for that.
Got somebody going out there for you?
There's somebody that's going out and he's taking orders on stuff. There's people that are getting their Will Ospreay signed because Ospreay's going to be there now. I have a Takeshita and I have a Swerve that I want signed. Both of them are going to be there. And then a picture of Mike O'Malley from Heels I'm going to get autographed. So
yeah, I mean, there's way too much other stuff going on that weekend for me to make that trip, but I really wanted to go for Mike O'Malley. I'm not going to lie.
I know, dude. It's such a busy weekend for wrestling. Enjoy's that weekend. AIW's that weekend. That's that week. I mean, there's so much. I'm like, oh my God. Everybody's booked that weekend. It's crazy. I got my Pro Wrestling Tees box today too. And I don't know if it was just how disappointed I was not getting the Swerve in the other one, but that box sucked this month. They have a Danhausen squeezy ball in it, which is cool. I didn't get a chase of any of the chase things, which was the pin or the 2 micro brawlers. The autograph is it's of the new NXT Ricky Starks, but it's obviously when he was Starks, not whatever it is now. And then the shirts were there's a knockoff. My favorite wrestler is Eddie Guerrero, which it's a more feminine one than the original. And then the other one is somebody else that I don't care about. So I'm I don't want this fucking. I might just sell the whole fucking box to somebody.
You've had a weird day with your wrestling memorabilia.
Yeah, it's been all over the place. Like, and then like I left after those arrived. I'm like, all right, cool. I left to go to work. And then like I get to work I'm like on my way to work. I'm like maybe 5 minutes from work and I get a message on my phone saying there's movement at my front door. And I look and here it's the cards being delivered. I'm like, son of a bitch. If I would have just waited like 5 minutes, I would have had my cards too. And I could have at least put all the packs together while I was sitting at work doing nothing. Because like I bought a bunch of stuff, we priced it all, put it all out at the store, and we posted all about it all over Facebook, and nobody showed up to buy wrestling. So I think my I had two sales. One was a Barbie doll, and one was some Hot Wheels cars. So it was a very slow day. Luckily, it was only 4 hours and not 5.5.
Well, my old ass stayed up till midnight last night to watch the benefit for Chris Bey Show. Mm-hmm. With the exception of Hammerstone and Karrion Kross, which I can't give a accurate review of because that's when the fucking internet voting to kind of go out during the fucking main event. Pretty good show overall. I would definitely, if you have 4 hours to kill, I would definitely check it out. But
I saw he came out. Chris Bey came out at the show, right?
Yeah, he came out. First time he's been in a wrestling ring at all since the injury. Did a tough for maybe 15 minutes at the end of the show. Like really, really, really nice, really impassioned. Yeah, thanking everybody for coming out, and yeah, he consistent. He's going to come back, and hopefully he does. But if he doesn't, he's made incredible progress. So like, I'm not going to knock for it at all.
Right, being able to walk after that is, I mean, a miracle in itself. If you want to push and wrestle again, that's awesome. But I'd just be happy to be walking again at that point. Like I was happy I was able. I didn't end up with anything major after my neck injury, so I was very thankful for that. So
yeah, because they had to make some changes to the card because of injury. We're directly supposed to wrestle Kenny King, but he got a ruptured eardrum, I guess. Well, he wasn't medically cleared. Swerve, by he I mean Swerve.
Yeah.
But they're all supposed to have Brian Cage against Rich Swann, and Brian Cage wasn't medically cleared, so they had Ricochet against Rich Swann, which was a fucking banger.
Nice.
Yeah, because that was really good. Like there wasn't a bad match on the card. They opened with the Battle Royal, which is there's too many people in there that I'm not familiar with, and I couldn't hear the name go with the announcer talking, so I don't even know everybody that was in that one. But you had AJ Francis was in there, and Bodie was in there. Disco Inferno was in and out. Thank God. If you're going to be there, I'm glad that was quick. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I called Junie Underwood in there.
Oh, wow.
And cage match with him, and it looked like him, and I couldn't quite make out the name. But I think that was a neat little surprise there. So, yeah, that was fun. Check that out. That's on Triller. If you have a Triller Plus membership, it's free.
You may have noticed that JGold is not here in this first half. He is in a parent-teacher conference right now. He will be joining us shortly for the interview portion. So we're going to take a break. We're not going to do what's on this weekend today. We are going to do our what's ups real quick. So what's up? Shout outs to Bagelmonger, Zach, and of course, Patty.
Hey, Patty. Patty's all excited because she's planning on going to the May Neo Pro show. She's all excited she gets to Team ref.
Yes, and well, she was asking like who all's on the card, and I gave her like a list of like everybody that I have in my match, plus all these other people, and she's like, okay. And then it's around her birthday, so she's also super excited about that. I know she's excited to get her pack of cards. She was asking about that, so I was like, "Oh, we'll have them for you. We'll have them for you." So I might actually have to see you this week before I go up to Cleveland, JHawk. So
okay, I am off work on Thursday, or if you need to stop in my house long enough for me to sign a card, because Patty got one. I know she wants one autographed.
Right. Yeah, I could probably swing by your place on the way because you're on the way. So sort of. It's a little out of the way, but I'll make it work.
Doing interviewing.
It's week 2, and we got the legend. He's back again. Wilbur Whitlock.
Thank you so much, Butters. You told me just to send my invoice directly to JHawk, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I was making sure. Yeah, we're putting it on his tab.
We actually never stopped talking. We've been talking all week since the last one, so it's all good.
Yeah, and it is per hour. So, again, it's going directly to JHawk. And, hey, buddy, look, we can make payment plans. It's fine. We can settle it up however you want. I know you're good for it.
And JHawk was very adamant, no brother rate. He wants the full rate, no brother rate.
Appreciated. That's what we do. Hey, man, I got to make a living somehow. So appreciate that, JHawk. Yeah, no brother rate. I'll leave the tip bar up open for you as well.
I thought that's what JHawk doesn't give anybody a brother rate. Even Butters, when he's reffing the Neo Pro shows, nothing.
Oh, I broke him down. After the discussion. There was a discussion in the car on the way to a show, and then it became 0 for a couple. But I did pay him back for him. So
JHawk gets the IWGuide sweatshirt when he refs matches.
I got him a trading card that he can sell now at the at merch stand. I never have to pay him ever again.
No, I don't care if he is a Hall of Famer.
Right. Hall of Famer. All right. So we are back, and I still have lots and lots and lots of questions to go back to like the early 2000s. Somebody asked me about your time with that Dusty Rhodes match that you mentioned. Was talking about where was, give me that again. Where was that? And who else with that kind of card? Who was booking that again? I don't think I remember from the episode.
No problem at all. Yeah. So for a refresh for anybody who listened, or to fill in anybody who's maybe missed last week. So my trainer was a man by the name of Kevin Ballou. He wrestled under the name Shasta. Mm-hmm. He again, I started training in the summer of 2002, and in September of 2002, he put on this basically indie super card at the Canton Civic Center. We aired commercials during Monday Night Raw, and I mean, honestly, it was overbooked for what it was because we just had so much, and the show ended up going long. So the announced main event was Jerry the King Lawler versus Dusty Rhodes. Also scheduled to be on that show, which I didn't mention last week, was the Road Warriors against now Kenny King, who had a good indie career, but this is fresh off of Tough Enough. So it was Kenny and Pete from Tough Enough. If anybody remembers the season 1 of Tough Enough, Kenny and Pete were 2 of the stalwarts on that show. But they ended up having to miss the show, so we did. It was and again, the show ran long, so it merged into a 6-man tag we just put together on the fly, which was Lawler and Jay Pumper and a Spellbinder who wrestled as Fantasio in the WWF, Harry Del Rios, and then that was against Dusty and the Road Warriors. And during that match, Lawler hit Hawk with a pile driver, and Hawk did the bounce up no sell and everything, and it was kind of surreal. It really was. Like, and as I mentioned in the first episode, not at all complaining about that being like my first indie experience, but for me that was, oh, this is independent wrestling. This is what I do now. This is where I want to be.
Did you get a chance to sit down with those guys? Were they willing, or was it still the old days where it's like, I don't care about you, kid, I got my own spot, and like, I don't want to lose it?
So they were all, almost everyone was really cordial. New Jack was on that show. New Jack, anybody who's had the pleasure of working with New Jack, he is awesome. He was the nicest guy until he didn't want to be. And then Jack could turn on Jack, and it could be trouble. So they actually did, we were at the Civic Center all morning setting up as I was part of the crew, and Shasta arranged a lunch. I think the place was called Cheers. It's down by, JHawk would know, down by where Roosters is and like Dressler in the Belton Village area. And he set that up. And he basically said, hey, y'all, all the boys, the Road Warriors, Dusty and all them, they're all going to go. And all of us crew were allowed to go. But I decided to stay back because Chris Cole and Gabe Knight of Cleveland Wrestling, they were there and they wanted to roll around. And even in my brain, I was like, you know what? I'd rather get ring time with these guys as a student and not ham it up with the big names. But we still were able to interact with them. I spoke with AJ Styles for a while because that was TNA was pretty fresh at that point. And he had just had that match with Jerry Lynn and Low Key and Psychosis. It was a fatal 4-way on TNA. And TNA, NWA TNA we were downloading stuff off the internet to try to watch some of that stuff because the high spots they were doing were just out of this world. So I did go to my way to talk to AJ Styles and tell him that he was awesome.
I will say that to this day, that 2003 till after Fox run of TNA, they might have had the best group of guys with the best finishers out of any wrestling company ever. Every guy, the Cradle Shock, the Styles Clash, the Destroyer, the Black Hole Slam, They had so many good finishers that I just watched the episodes just to see the guy finish the other dude. Like, it didn't matter who they were wrestling.
Angel's Wings. I mean, yeah, exactly. And AJ was doing so much stuff that like I had personally never seen before. So really, really cool to meet him at that point in time as well. But yeah, Sabu was on the card. Mentioned New Jack, AJ Styles, Grandmaster Sexay. So it was just loaded from top to bottom. And honestly, and I think Shasta kind of learned his lesson, which was, hey, the show cost a fortune. Still did well enough to run more shows at the Civic Center, but we don't need to have somebody a name in every single match going forward. So
JGold's a big fan of watching guys finish each other.
Shut up.
I will Pornhub taking business. Okay.
I will tell you though, I've told the story on this show. I did meet New Jack in '96. He bought me and my buddy a Playboy and some 40 ounces at the Lost Battalion Hall. He was the coolest dude ever. He was scary when you first walked up to him, but when we asked him to buy us stuff, he was very cool.
Great, telling you, great dude, but also terrifying.
Yeah.
Pedro told us a really great story on his episode. I think I cut it because I didn't want anybody to like take it the wrong way, but one of the best stories I've ever heard about that man. We might have to tell it off air tonight, but it was one of the best ones I've ever heard.
So after a show like that, and you get into you told us about you wrestled Honky Tonk and a few others. So let's fast forward like 10 years. So like 2012, like in that range, right? Like 2012, 2013.
Sure.
What were you thinking as far as your career and as far as the way the indies were kind of like unfolding at that time? What was kind of going through your mind? Where did you want to be? And who at that time were you either wrestling that now we look and say, holy shit, or that on their way up? Like what was that like in about 10 years after you started?
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is about 10 years after I started was when I was like, man, I'm finally starting to get it. And I know it's crazy. People will think like it takes that long, and it's not the same for everybody. And of course, there's the amount of matches that you have and the different crowds that you can work for, and traveling is important and getting in front of different crowds and different styles that you have to work. But about 10 years in was when I was really starting to quote unquote get it. But also so let's call this 2011 was when my son was born. And so I don't like to operate with regrets. I really don't. But I do feel like if I would have focused a little bit more when I was even younger then and got a little bit more seasoning, then, maybe I could have had that run, that really good run. So, because we get to 2011, 2012, now I really don't want to have those nights too far away from home, because you got a newborn son to come home to and everything like that. So I became a little more comfortable being what they call the 40 miler, and it's sort of a derogatory term in a sense, but if that's who you are and that's who you are, and again, for me in my personal world, my world was a little bit more important for the first time ever than wrestling at that point. But in the ring, I was now just really starting to grasp everything. I was working with my good buddy. He wrestled under the name Jebediah. Initially in the early 2000s, he came out to Amish Paradise and was a straight Amish wrestler. Roadkill was really popular. And then he kind of morphed into just kind of this evil entity, Jebediah. But he was a fantastic worker. And I was in the ring with him, and I remember him, all he didn't speak. The only thing he ever said was, Jebediah, that was it. And he's putting the heat on me, beating me down, and I'm starting to kind of work myself back up. And he even tells, he's like, just stay down. And he's just getting the heat doing Jebediah, and the crowd is going ape shit. They're hating it. And it's like, boy, we are doing so little, but getting so much. And it's like, it's starting to click now. And that's when I started to realize, like, okay, I'm starting to grasp. I knew how to do all the moves. I knew how to sell. I knew I had a good idea of why we did the things we do, but now it was really where's the crowd? Where do we have them? Where do we want to take them? And how do we get there? And starting to piece all that together. And so in that timeline where you're talking 2011, 2012, 2013, that's when I started to embrace that vet status. And again, I'm not even 30 years old yet, but I'm coming up with younger guys coming up that have seen my stuff 4 years, and they're excited to work with me, and I'm excited to help them learn. And then by helping them learn, that that only buffed me up as learning myself, learning how to teach in the ring, and it made me better. And then at that point in time, as you mentioned, so I had wrestled the Honky Tonk Man. I had wrestled Brutus Beefcake. So you're talking about the names that you're wrestling, but now you're looked at as somebody who's reliable, somebody who's steady. So when they bring in these names who don't want to go in there and get hurt by a reckless indie wrestler, that's definitely a badge of honor that I wore and I still wear, is hey, we're going to pair him up with Wilbur because we know we're going to have a good match. We know that we're going to entertain the crowd. We know that we're going to keep this guy safe. And that was pretty close to the time where I got to work with Ricky Morton, which, again, awesome. I've mentioned on the last pod, I'm a Midnight Express guy till I die. And so I even cut a promo telling Ricky that I was going to give him a beautiful beating the way Bobby Eaton should have all those years, and just had a blast with it. And we went out there and walked and talked and just had a blast in the ring. So yeah, and I of course got more individual stories, but to get a kind of a grasp on everything you asked, JGold, 10 years in was, man, I was a good young vet at that point, and probably was the time where I should have, if I wanted to, really taken advantage of getting on the road more, but had a family life, so priorities shifted.
What were you seeing as far as the indies, as far as the development of, like, I'm trying to put it the right way so that the question kind of flows. So what were you seeing as far as the evolution of the indies? Like how, because 2013, 2014 was a little bit different. You had TNA, you had WWE. It was shitty years for WWE 2011 to 2015.
Sure.
What were you seeing as far as the indies go? Was there anything that was standing out to you where you're like, oh, this is either blowing up or it's not doing anything? Like what was going on?
Yeah, and everybody here knows, we've all heard the cliche, whether it's true or not, is that wrestling business is cyclical. We all know that. And
yep.
So when I started in 2002, 2003, it's right out of the Attitude Era, ECW. So it's still, wrestling was still very popular, and then it started to cool. And then as you're talking now, in that 12, 13 era, wrestling all around had cooled down. WWE was cool. TNA was definitely on the cool down. So wrestling wasn't as cool, wasn't as hip. So along the independents, you had to kind of take a look around and realize that, when wrestling's really, really popular, it's easy to say, put pro wrestling on the poster, or in this case, a social media post, and say, pro wrestling's here, come and watch it. People will when they love wrestling. People do right now. Wrestling's hot right now, and the independents are thriving. At that point in time, they weren't. So for me, it was, trying to find, and this was not in an administrative role, it's just more even as a wrestler, just observing, what do the people want to see? And the independents were trying a lot of things. AIW was emerging then, and AIW had some loaded cards with I'm doing the quote, super indie talent, but also, guys that were in TNA or MLW, guys that were on the TV that you could watch somewhat. And they'd have varying degrees of success with those crowds. So you're like, okay, maybe these guys are drawing attention, but then, boy, if they don't, then they might lose your ass. Then the independent shows that I was wrestling on, it was Nigel McGuinness was kind of one of our MCW guys, so he came back in as Desmond Wolfe. Mm-hmm. Again, we could bring him in the first time. He's on TNA now, wrestling against Kurt Angle. We present that hey, come and see it, and they absolutely did. We had a great crowd. Brought him back again, and it was just maybe a hair above what we had. So it was in the independents. It was, and we weren't getting the influx of new talent the way that you see now. I mean, just from AIW alone, they have an amazing school, and they are just churning out some really, really good, talented kids, one after another, which is great because wrestling is popular. Now you get these good young athletes that want to come in, but also, hey, there's only so many spots. There's only so many spots on the show. So in that era, it wasn't really like that. We didn't see that flux of talent coming in because wrestling wasn't hip. Wrestling wasn't cool. So on the flip side, if you were one of the few young guys that were getting in at that time, you got to get under a pretty good learning tree because it was a lot of us, guys like me at that point, 8, 9, 10-year vets that were just filling all the cards because that's all you had.
Yeah.
We were able to get some of these young guys caught up to speed. But yeah, it was an interesting time on the independents, man. It was trying to find what the crowd was into. Did they want the faster paced, high impact action, or did you need to scale it back a little bit with your Ricky Mortons and you stomp and you clap and you get the crowd involved? And I'm telling you, it was dependent on the town, dependent on the night. You had to kind of figure it out.
Were you ever worried that like the jobs weren't going to be there for guys like you, or like because companies you can't sustain like at that time? Like, are you ever worried now? I mean, do you ever look at it like the last 20 years and go, there was a time where I was worried I wasn't going to work?
Not totally. And just because independent wrestling being what it is, it feels like there's always somebody popping up, even when times weren't great. It still felt like promoters would try. Now, that being said, and I'll testify to Neo Pro when I talk about this. A lot of times when you see that new promoter, and of course, JHawk, and I'm sure Butters have heard the terms, you got your tax time promoters. You get the guys that will always get that influx of cash and think they can just do it. And then the boys will absolutely take advantage of that because they're going to jack up their rates. They're going to play nice with the promoters. They're going to get their payday, and they don't really care if they run show 2 or not. That can happen. For me, and that was for Neo Pro being something near and dear to my heart and being local, it's hey, you guys need to know how to play the long game. We need to know how to sustain. You need to not blow all your money at once. You need to plan how to make money for show 2 and how to make money for show 3 and plan that stuff ahead. So yeah, going back then, was I ever worried about not wrestling? I wouldn't say so. And again, that was a time where, you definitely had to get in the car a little bit more to get to those shows. Cause there was, maybe a couple good promotions in Detroit. There was a couple good promotions in Pittsburgh. Certainly Cleveland had some things, but if you wanted the work, it was out there, but you had to go find it a little bit more.
And before I know I've been talking a little bit with you. I know JHawk's got his stuff too, and Butters, but let me ask you something. Is it just me, or I never hear or see on like IWTV or like on on Triller, like shows in different states that like I never hear of. Like you never like, this week live from Oklahoma. We got like, were you ever in on that? Like, was there a loop like South or Midwest? Like, why don't we ever see stuff from Arkansas? Like, something like that nowadays. Where are those shows? Where'd they go? Those states don't want wrestling?
No, they're there. They're there, but they're not marketed as much to the super indie crowd. They're much more marketed to their local crowds, drawing the local people in with the local rest. Yeah. And they win, they work, and they draw really well. And honestly, even in Ohio, it's just a whole nother world between Northeast Ohio and Southern Ohio. Southern Ohio has a bunch of wrestling, and there's some guys that, I would say probably aren't great, but then there's also some guys that are pretty talented guys that wrestle some of these promotions, and you're never going to see them on your IWTVs or your Trillers because that's not who they're marketing for. They're just not. They like to market for the local crowd comes out to see and I don't intend this to be derogatory, but the wrestling show.
Yeah.
It still works. The flyers on the telephone poles with the pink, green, and yellow. It draws your attention to it, and it still works. So when you think about Arkansas, you're right. You can't think of a big super indie, Game Changer or Revolver aren't running a show in the middle of Arkansas.
Even a talent. I don't even know talents that have come out like that. They're like, here, this guy's from who? Where was the last one from like a state like that?
Think about this too, though. Like, okay, Texas. There wasn't a real there's a handful of promotions there, but we didn't really know about them. Like we started covering New Texas Pro because a friend of ours, Mouse, turned us on to Brian Keith and New Texas Pro Wrestling because his daughter got booked there, Billy Starks, and that's the only reason that they even got really recognized was because of him, like telling everybody that was like listening, hey, you guys should check this out. And then we did, and that's the only reason we know about them is because one person went and saw, and look where Brian Keith is now. He's on AEW. I honestly, it took a lot of hard work, and I think he would have made it there eventually anyway. But Mouse definitely opened up a lot of doors for that to happen a lot quicker than it would have if they never got mentioned by being seen by somebody that had the network that he has. It's all about.
I miss Wrestle Circus.
And that promotion was probably running good, solid shows this entire time without you guys or myself knowing about it. So maybe it did. It took that one name or that one connection of the, hey, why don't you guys check this out? And now it drew your attention to it. And you go, oh, well, this is a really well-run show. And then you probably seen some other talent show where, well, this guy's great or this girl's great. I just haven't heard of them. And again, to kind of just loop back to what you said in the first place, JGold, you didn't really have that as much back then because there wasn't the influx of talent coming in. But with wrestling being very popular again, we're all older guys, but with the streaming culture and YouTube and everything like that, it's got young people loving wrestling. So now you got more and more people just wanting to get in, and just by the sheer numbers alone, you're going to have some really good athletes. You're going to have people who really love this stuff, that really take their craft seriously. And there is currently, and there's going to be more of an influx of talent coming in from all over. So if you don't, there's probably a really good show in Arkansas somewhere, but there's just so much content right now. It's hard to filter through it.
Yeah. Go ahead, JHawk. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we've talked about some of the names you've worked with. You mentioned working with Ricky Morton. One guy you've not talked about that you got to work with is X-Pac. And I know you want to tell this story.
X-Pac was awesome. So our mutual friends, JHawk, the Meekins brothers, Jeff, went out of his way to try to have his own promotion. Mike was there to help with him. And they had a show in Akron, and and I love those guys. I came up with those guys. We're all pretty much the same age and been doing this since we were basically kids.
Now, Jeff's younger than people realize, too, but...
Well, Jeff was too young to be on some of those shows early on.
Now, but why he wore a Mac for the first 2 years.
But yeah, so they used X-Pac. They brought in X-Pac, and what was wild was they wanted to book the match just me versus X-Pac one-on-one, and apparently Sean at that point didn't feel comfortable having one-on-one matches. This is coming from him. He preferred to have tags, or what we ended up doing was a 6-man tag, and I, for the life of me, don't know why. He was awesome. He was still sharp as can be with his mind, sharp in the ring. He even told everybody when he throws those spin kicks, brother, get your hands up, because I just fucking wing them. And he does. I was in the ring seeing him. Those spin kicks come fast. So again, that's another one that's, as I talk about it, still kind of surreal. We talked last week, and I was born in the mid '80s. So did I grow up on Macho Man and everything like that? Absolutely, but I was a 14-year-old kid during DX, and I was crotch chopping any kid who looked sideways at me at school, So I was definitely doing that. So to be in the ring with X-Pac, and we're just calling it out there, and we're doing like the test of strength, going one hand up, one hand down, one hand up, and then of course he stops, does the suck it. I throw one, he ducks, boom, big kick, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is awesome. I'm getting crotch chopped by X-Pac. And again, in 98, everybody was watching wrestling. Everybody was telling their friends to suck it. So to be in that moment was just surreal. And again, working with these names, like, yes, it's great to get on a podcast and have stories and talk about them. And as I mentioned earlier, I wear it as a badge of honor, and a promoter wants me to be in with these guys. But what I make sure I do is I try to learn at least one thing from these guys that have this wealth of knowledge, learn something that I hadn't learned before. And on this night, I was trying to call a spot with X-Pac where I suggested, hey, why don't you, if you hit the Bronco Buster, and then the other two guys come in, and boom, boom, because he wanted to take my finish and have the baby faces make the save for you. Like, he wanted to give me that. I wasn't going to win, but he wanted to at least, hey, eat the cutter and have the baby faces break it up. So I suggested, well, you hit the Bronco Buster. Here comes my guys. You bump them. And then, boom, eat that cutter. 1, 2, they make the save. And so he tells me, he goes, see, that's a good, I can do a good Sean impression. That's a good idea, my brother, when I hit that Bronco Buster. And you guys can't see me, but I'm raising my hands up like towards the ceiling. He's like, we got him. They're not going to get any higher than that. But that Bronco Buster, we got to hit that finish, man. We got to take it home. And he's absolutely right. Sean Waltman knows more about wrestling than I do, 100%. And he is absolutely right. And I've taken that with me. We know when you might be calling some stuff and you might have some great ideas and you think, boy, this is good. The crowd's going to love this. And then if you like, well, let's go back about 3 things because they're going to love that a ton and we're not going to get them back to that. We got to finish it there. So that's just a big wrestling nugget that I've taken with me in this past, what's it been probably 8 years or so since that match. And I've just carried that with me. And I've implemented that to other guys, and I utilize that for my stuff now. But yeah, Sean was cool as hell. He was stoned off of his ass, but still, all that knowledge, man, it was still all there. It just took a second or two to filter from the brain to his mouth, but it was still all there.
No, Sean's fantastic. He would get Steel Kitty Con a number of years ago, and I was talking to him. I talked about Jerry Lynn. Oh, look, Jerry Lynn, man. Nobody's asked him about that shit.
Yeah.
Everybody asked about DX through the NWO. Ask him about fucking Jerry Lynn. He'll go for 20 minutes with you.
Wrestling. And that's what we talked about a little bit last week too, of just the guys that watched the NWO and watched DX. And again, nothing wrong with that. Everybody did. It was entertaining. But if you can channel tell me a little bit more about Global. And it's like, shit, you know about Global? Like they want to talk to you about that because now it's like, you just know right away you can get into those deeper cuts of those conversations.
We used to do that in school, by the way. We used to do that in like middle school. We'd be like, no, everyone's talking about WWF. We're like, no. Did you watch ECW at 3:00 in the morning on MSG Network when we were in 1994? Oh, you didn't? And we just walk away from those people who didn't get in on it.
Well, the first time I ever talked to Fonzie, we got Cauliflower Alley, and everybody acting about ECW, I'm like, you worked at Tokyo Dome with Flavor Fujinami, didn't you? He was so impressed that I knew that.
Yeah.
But he was my buddy that entire weekend after that.
There's just different wrestling different levels of wrestling nerds. There really is. And I don't know if it's a flex, like to say that I was watching ECW at 3 a.m. No, that just
hell yeah, it was. Of course, it was a flex.
Yeah, and today, you guys probably know if you go to work and somebody goes, oh hey, you like wrestling? Well, go talk to JHawk, go talk to JGold, go talk to Butters. He likes wrestling too. And it's like, oh, I don't want to talk wrestling with this guy.
You don't understand. It got out in my company that I have a podcast and that we do this podcast. It got out how much I go to wrestling with my daughter. There's a dude, you'll probably remember him, Chris Nowacki from the Miz's year of Tough Enough.
Absolutely.
He's the IT guy in my office. He's a monster. I had to go see him. They're like, you got to go see Chris Nowacki. I'm like, yeah, I'm going right now. And I went to his desk when I found out he was there. And I'm like, I remember the Big Show beat the piss out of you in the ring before, and Kurt Angle before Daniel Puder put him in the Kimura. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, let's sit down. I go, we got to sit down and talk. I need to know everything.
About annoy you, pal, but yeah, let's do it.
Now he sees me. I think he kind of walks the other way, but I will get all those stories from him one day. I know I will, because I know he avoids me right now. Fucking guy.
Oh,
sorry,
boy.
Well, there was that one time Butters introduced me to a friend of his because he knew that his friend would say the rumors that he thought were true that I knew were bullshit. He wanted me to confront him. I'm like, I'm not confronting the fucking guy. I don't want to do it.
Oh, Lord. Butters, who was it? Was it Summers?
No, it was, I think I knew who it was. Dude, he used to
was it Battis?
Wild shit. No, it was just this one guy. He just used to talk wild shit. Like he
was one of the multiple Ultimate Warrior motherfuckers.
Dude, that's like my grandpa Lou. Before he died, he believed wrestling was real, and we'd sit down and he would see the chair shots, and I'd be like, no. He's like, come on, that's real. He's like, those guys are real. Those guys are hurt. He's like, look at that guy. He's not getting up. And I'm like, Grandpa, it's predetermined. I'm like, come on. I knew that in the 90s, like in the 80s. And he was insisting to everybody. And he had to have those conversations about how Randy Macho Man Savage got bit by a snake and he should be dead. That was all of his, that was his thing.
In fairness, he actually did get bit by that snake.
He did, but there were no fangs. And the whole story's even better when you hear that whole documentary about it.
Yeah. I want to volunteer that Grandpa Lou was right. Chair shots are real chair shots.
Not that kind of chair shot. He was watching the Saturday Night's Main Event, and I swear to God, he probably thought that Hulk Hogan really was traveled in a car with Junkyard Dog and Ricky Steamboat, like in Rock and Wrestling. I'm almost positive he thought that.
Hulk Hogan really did have lust in his eyes, brother. Your grandpa.
Yeah. My grandpa, I don't know if he thought wrestling was real or not, but he would watch it on TV. If wrestling was on, he would watch it on TV. But he's like, this guy could be next door. I want to walk next door and get in for free and watch fucker comparison. But he watched on TV all the time. Like, I never got it.
My great aunt Gertie, she used to go watch what's his name, Freddie Blassie, and she told me she would sit in the front, like along the when you could just go to the garden and sit along the barricades or at the National Coliseum. And she said, and she was like 75 when I was like 14. She goes, I used to throw punches at classy Freddie Blassie. And I was like, well, I'm in the right family then. So from that, when I was a kid, I knew I was in the right family.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Wait, let me ask you a question real quick. Furthest that you have driven, what state, in which direction for a show?
Georgia, and we did a couple shows down in Georgia. And this is just, I don't know, it felt like a traveling circus. As I mentioned, my trainer Shasta was from Georgia, and he would put on shows down in Georgia, and we would rent like a big Chevy Suburban with a big ass van full of wrestlers, and we'd go down. We'd leave the middle of the night, like Friday night, like 11 o'clock. We'd get in town, roughly noon, 1 o'clock or so in the afternoon, check into a hotel, maybe sleep a couple of hours, go do the show, go hit the bar afterwards, sleep in the hotel and get out again and get home late at night, Sunday night. I actually have one of those shows on DVD, and this was, again, me being an old school guy. I got a story to lead to that. So the main event on this show was advertised as Bobby Eaton versus Ricky Morton. Okay, cool, right? Well, they wrestled for a couple of minutes when all of a sudden a siren hits, and out comes Big Papa Pump and Rick Steiner to come out and try to out. Well, they rally back, fend off the Steiners, so now you got a new main event of the Steiner brothers versus Ricky Morton and Bobby Eaton. And what a just... Again, me being a huge Midnights guy and just a huge Steiners guy, I love the Steiners. I'm like, this is happening. This is awesome. So, so Georgia's the furthest that I traveled, and we had basically our wrestling caravan, and then they also mentioned now a few times Midnight Express, all-time favorite tag team, and I think Bobby Eaton, even with the love he gets today by people like us, still just criminally underrated.
Oh, by far underrated.
Which version of the Midnights do you prefer, Condrey or Lane?
So Lane, because it's what I remembered. It's what I remembered first. And I have a book I call my wrestling Bible. It's like this big red wrestling superstars book. I'll grab it when we get off air. And they have so many big color pictures. And that was the first I saw was Eaton and Lane. I had to go back and watch Condrey. I didn't even know Condrey existed until they did the Midnight Express reunion show in Ring of Honor. And I was like, oh, that's right. They did have another guy. And even then I was like, well, it's Bobby and this dude who looks like my grandpa and not Sweet Stan, But then you go back and actually watch the stuff with Condrey, and, I mean, you can't go wrong either way.
So were you a Fabulous Ones fan, too? Did you like them, JHawk, too? Fabulous Ones? Kern and Lane?
Yeah, Fabulous Ones I very rarely call until much later.
I own those figures. Remember those AWA figures with, like, Nick Bockwinkel? And I had the Fabulous One figures with the Road Warriors and all that. Oh, I love those.
Yeah, I had a friend who had all those, but I never called them anywhere. No.
Right.
I had some of those Remco figures too. Yeah, I never saw the Fabulous Ones either until they came up on YouTube with the Everybody Wants You videos with them in bow ties and glistening hair.
Yes.
I was like, I don't think I really want to watch these guys.
There were some matches they had where they were bloodied up, and I was like, look, you can't be bloodied up and be oiled up and wear a bow tie. It's very difficult to be taken seriously when you're all bloodied up.
Yeah. No, I love going back and watching their stuff now, but it's unfair for me to be like, oh yeah, I was really into them. It was probably the 90s. I think I had one match on tape with them in the Moondog that my dad taped.
That's the one.
2 o'clock in the fucking morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was but even that one was we saw it on TV 4 years after it happened.
Yeah, I saw it in Pro Wrestling Illustrated years, probably 2 years afterwards when they finally published the photos.
I wanted to finish my Bobby Eaton story.
Oh, sorry, get off on a tangent.
So Bobby Eaton, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and maybe one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. You can't hardly understand him, but just terribly nice. So at this building, our locker room basically had 2 ways in and out, and it was the entrance or this one side door. And the aforementioned Jebediah, he was on the show and he was wrestling Chris Hamrick. and there's Bobby's looking through the side door. I had finished my match and I had to piss like a racehorse. And again, the only other way out is the entrance. I'm not going to do that. So I'm trying to get to the side door, but Bobby Eaton's there. So I kind of walk up and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, you need it through, brother?" And I was like, "I do." It's like, but Bobby, just, I already introduced myself. But like, it's just so great to have you here. And again, Midnight Express is the greatest tag team of all time. And we start talking shop for a legitimate 5 minutes. Like he's kind of watching and then going back like and apologizing home. I was wanting to see my man Chris out there. And I was like, "You don't have to apologize for anything, Bobby." So we're shooting the shit for 5 minutes. And then eventually goes, "Well, you needed through, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to pee my pants, Bobby." So I got I had my own conversation with Bobby. Never got a chance to talk to him again because I couldn't hold in my pee a little bit better.
I like guys who can just talk to you all day. I think that's great. I really do. You can sit in some of these guys, these old school storytellers, like yourself too, just listening to stories. I think I said the last time you're on, there's just not enough storytellers left, or young guys don't have any stories. So when they come on, you're trying to pick up on their lived experiences, but they don't really have as many as as somebody who's seen the road and moved on. And I do think it is a detriment to the business to not have storytellers in the business, especially when the business is about telling stories.
100%. You nailed it. It's when I go into a match, it really is the first thing I say is, what story do we want to tell? What story do we want to tell? And the story can be as simple as, I want to pin the other guy because I want to be the winner. That's a story. That's fine. But what story do you want to tell? Do I want to overpower the little guy? Do I want to be intimidated by the new young prospect that's bigger, faster, stronger? And how do we convey that to the crowd with emotions, with facials, with selling, with what we do in the ring? So it's always, and then as I've matured in wrestling, that's what I watch and what I look for when I watch matches. I could go back and watch Brett versus Mr. Perfect from King of the Ring 93. Everybody loves the SummerSlam 91. But King of the Ring 93, always loved that match. And I still might watch that once a year just to be like, what story are they trying to tell us? What are these guys trying to convey? And just pick more and more out on my own to see it. And the more that I can learn is the more that I can then perform in the ring and also teach going forward.
That's the superior match of the two, by the way, the King of the Ring match.
It is. It's fantastic. And the 91 is nothing to snuff at. It's great. But that King of the Ring match is just chef's kiss, man. Love that.
Yeah, I also preferred the second ladder match between Shawn and Razor over the first one because they had to tell them over a story, but they were told not to use the fucking ladder.
Yep, I did too.
Oh, really? Wait, they weren't. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were told they had to limit how much they used the ladder because they actually had to tell a story to work the ladder in. I thought it was a much better match because of it.
Yep, I agree.
Pedro, send in a question.
Oh, my good buddy Pedro. Let's hear it.
He sent me a photo along with this, but I don't think I'm going to need to send it to you. He wants to know, who was the new young American Eagle?
You might have to send that to me because I'm not sure if I recall. My memory is pretty good on these things, but if it's just a blip, if it's just one show, I might not remember that.
All right, I will send it right now.
So sorry, Pedro, for the dead radio here. Let's take a look. New young American Eagle. Man, oh man. I can't believe I'm stumped on a Pedroism because he always comes to me for all these who was it, where was, at this time, and I'm usually good at remembering. I want to have to apologize to Pedro. I have no idea.
Stumped Wilbur
On that one. I'll need a little more context from Pedro, and then if we fill in the blanks, if I can remember what show it was, I probably have a better memory on that.
Yeah, I don't want to text him. It's too late to text him.
Yeah, 9:00 bedtime for Uncle Pedro. I think that might have been Shelby Wilder under the mask there. Because I think I've seen an American mask on a mannequin horse head back there behind him, too. It's a little blurry. It's an older picture.
Yeah, it's a similar body type, I think.
Very similar body type, yeah.
And then we do have a question from one Tom Dunn.
He's not happy with me right now, by the way.
For calling him out last week?
All he had to do was put me over one time. That's all.
He says, how important do you think chemistry is between tag team partners or wrestlers /managers? Personally, my best pairings have always been with people I talk to outside of shows. I think it just opens up more possibilities when partners are actual friends. I think the crowd picks up on it as well.
I 100% agree with him. And in there, well, for more than anything else, there's a trust factor. There's just that trust factor. And, you know, I can compare this with working with Dunn. There, you know, if I was working with somebody, even if they're just like a wrestling acquaintance, a wrestling friend, we've been on some shows, hey, we're pairing up, you know, we think or the promoter wants us to pair up, or they want to use this manager with me. You know, it's just probably a little bit more cautious of the, hey, would you be cool with this? I had this idea. Working with a guy like Dunn, and Dunn and I had been friends prior to us actually working together. I could come up with the most ridiculous idea, and he would just be, yeah, let's do it. Perk up, you know, we'd have that sort of connection. And like, I'd be laughing as I suggest something. He's like, no, that's great. Let's do that. And vice versa. Like, he would come up with a crazy suggestion or something, you know, to embarrass both of us out there as heels. Like, what if we did this? And I'll be like, fuck yeah, we'll do that. Like, without hesitation. So, and as Dunn says, you know, does the crowd sense that a little bit? I think so. I think they can, you know, you don't want to go out there and yuck it up when people are paying their money to see you perform, but they do absolutely notice, like, if we're having fun doing what we're doing, we're probably putting a little bit more into it, and then it conveys to the crowd. The crowd sees it, and it's like, shit, if they're having fun, then we're having fun watching them. God, what did Dunn do the one time? I can't remember who was wrestling. It was wrestling a babyface, and they went out there and they like went out of the way to like high five a kid in the front row. And Dunn just goes, "Oh, we're hanging out with the kids. I'm gonna hang out with the kids." And he like grabbed this kid's wrist, and I like jump out of the ring and like hug him, like, "No, not again, not again." Like, what? I'm here for the kids. He's like, "Do you want some candy, little boy?" He's like, "No, you do not want his candy. You do not want his candy." And like you could see like I'm trying not to crack myself up, like just laugh because like, we know it's ridiculous, but yeah, the crowd is having a blast seeing this, you know, us making asses out of ourselves.
See Tom Dunn give the kid a cigarette. Here you go, kid.
Hey, there you go. It's a light because he's a youngster. Yeah.
Right.
But I love working. I love working. And Dunn has mentioned that to me. He's always liked working with me because we do just get along as people. And then, you know, I had no problem at all interacting with Dunn all the time. A lot of wrestlers, a lot of guys do. They might take themselves a little too seriously, given the scenario. And it's like, you're out here with this manager in this town in front of this crowd, like, just interact with each other, make it work. And Derek was a part of that too when we were teaming. We had a blast working together, and just we couldn't be ridiculous enough, you know. But entertaining ourselves almost always entertain the crowd as well.
JGold, you got more stuff?
I've been just kind of digging up stuff, kind of looking to see what I can come up with here.
Well, while you're doing that, let's talk about some stuff with NeoPro. So
yes, let's do that.
How did working with NeoPro kind of come about? Were you one of the original like founding people to like come in and start doing stuff, or did they bring you into wrestle first and then you like kind of transition to a more like mentor role?
Yeah, a little bit in between. So it was Danny and Jason's baby, 100%. I did not help conceive that child. That would have been a weird scene, you know, in the bedroom. But no, it was their baby all along. And they absolutely did ask me to be a part of the show. And I was, you know, and honestly, and they know this, I entered that with a little bit of trepidation because I knew both those guys and I liked both those guys. They both trained where I trained at different times, but I was in the ring, you know, helping train both of those guys. But again, as we kind of mentioned earlier, you always hear about guys going, well, I'm going to make a wrestling promotion. I'm going to start a wrestling promotion. And, you know, at that point, I'm like, okay, let me see what you guys got going on. And then it really didn't take long talking to him because, you know, neither guy, Jason had bounced around in and out doing some stuff with the business for a while. Danny, I really liked Danny as a trainee, and I thought he had a lot of potential, but he, you know, had the family life and started doing his own thing. So he hadn't really been in that long. So I didn't know what their plan was or anything like that, but it really didn't take long to kind of see, like, this is what we're thinking. And again, having all the very nice, you know, equipment, the ring, the entrance, the audio and everything. It's like, well, these guys are taking this seriously. And so at the very least, yeah, I'll wrestle for them. And then kind of helping out with, because they basically would say, hey, we're not as familiar with the current talent right now, because they've both kind of been away from wrestling for a few years. So it's like, well, I can help you with that. I'm traveling around to all this, different area, call it a 2-hour radius from where we're at here in Canton. But like, I have a pretty good scope of guys, a lot of talented guys that we can bring in. So at that point, that definitely helped them a lot. And also, just me kind of co-signing on it. When I would talk to the boys about, hey, when these guys from NeoPro talk to you, like, listen to them. Like, they got a good thing going. They got a good thing planned. They're taking it seriously. They're putting a lot of passion into this. So it's not going to be one of those fly-by-night bookers and promotions. These guys have big plans. They want to do something right. They want to do right by all of us as well. So that was kind of like okay. And I even mentioned last show, the franchise came in for that first show. He's getting paid. He's going into the indie show at the fairgrounds like he does every weekend, I'm sure. Hey, he's going to show up and be the franchise and do his thing. And I think after that, he went out of his way to, and you can tell when he was genuine, to tell Jason and Danny and tell me, he's like, you guys have a really good thing going. This has a lot of potential. You have a really good thing going here. And then they brought in Shane a few more times after that, because I think, we could tell, like, hey, this does have some real potential. This isn't a lot of promoters, and I really don't want to sound mean. So I'm not going to sound derogatory when I say it, but a lot of promoters really will. They'll throw up a ring, they'll throw up a black tarp, and they'll have some wrestlers on the show, and they go, hey, we got a promotion. And technically you do, but what sticks out? What makes you stand out? What separates you? And Jason and Danny didn't want to do that. They wanted to have something that looked good, something they could be proud of. They didn't want to half-ass any of it. They definitely didn't want to half-ass any step. And I'll safely say they haven't. They have not half-assed anything. They haven't hit home runs with everything that they've done and every decision that they made and everything like that. And they know that. But there's always room to grow. And so signing on to kind of help as, the quote-unquote liaison, kind of, being the trusted vet, the locker room leader, or however you want to put it, it definitely helped. And they know it too. It helped really kind of put that stamp of credibility on them, because I hate even talking like, because I don't want to sound egotistical at all. I honestly think the shits of myself more times than not. But I knew I don't want to put my stamp of approval on every single promotion that I wrestle for. But I did that for not only the guys within the business, but just being local, like, my friends and family and the people I work with was like, hey, like, I know I've been on hundreds and hundreds of shows. This is one that you should come see. And really trying to push it hard. I'm like, these guys are going to deliver a show for you. And I haven't had anybody disappointed yet.
So when we first showed up there, what was going through your mind when our first group kind of showed up to do a thing at Salem?
All good, man. And this is the thing. Any time that you got people with positive ideas, positive thoughts, positive vibes, I'm all for it. Now, that being said, again, none of us are going to hit home runs every single time. But when you're coming in with positive contributions and wanting to make a better product and wanting to provide opportunities for the wrestlers, wanting to provide our crowd with, hey, some guys that you haven't seen before and might not have a chance to see, or at the very least taking a little bit of time to get some of these new talents in there, I can't really wrap my head around why that would be a bad thing. So anytime where you see somebody wanting to add a positive contribution and with minimal ego involved, we're not going to lie to ourselves at any point in time and say that there's zero ego involved. Why would we do any of this? We want to present something that we're proud of. We want to go home with that sense of pride and knowing that we helped and having that feel good feeling of inside of you. You got to have a little bit of that ego to do it, but still minimal ego involved, because it's, hey, we're on the same team. Let's work together to provide positive ideas, positive contributions. So yeah, you guys coming in and again Mikey in particular, but still lots of other just really good talent. Shelby got his real first opportunity because of you guys, and now Shelby is not that he wouldn't have earned it on his own accord, but it certainly helped jumpstart him getting some more work in this area, not only for NeoPro but just in other promotions as well. So it's not just NeoPro. You get eyes from, because we, as you know, we have guys in the locker room from, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, and Indiana, and Michigan, and all around. And all it takes is, for one of those guys to work with some of these young guys, or just to review their match and go, hey, like, yeah, why don't you give me your number? Let's see what we can do. It's that networking opportunity is invaluable, and I'm thankful for you guys and your contributions in providing it. And I think I'm really happy. That's one of my proudest contributions for NeoPro is, hey, go over there and say hi to Sami Callihan because he's here. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be on a Wrestling Revolver show, because you should, go over there and ask for some advice or see if you can, any contributions to your match later tonight, and get your face and your name known. Like, that's just invaluable experience that you can have. And very happy to have you guys be a part of that, and very happy with what NeoPro's been able to do so far and helping some of these guys make connections and advance their own careers.
Now, with this basically being your last year as full-time in-ring worker, you got to have some guys you want to kind of wrap it up with. Who are you thinking?
Oh, man. A lot. And I probably will run out of time or body health before I get there. Well, I might run out of body health with the very first guy, because you guys all know Dom Guarini pretty well. Dom comes up with that Dom fucking smile, and he goes, I was talking to somebody. Guess he really wants to have a match with you. And I was like, and he goes, Bishop. And I was like, why? Like, I thought I got along really well with Josh.
He's making that up. He's trying to manifest it, right?
So I was like, what did I ever do to him? and I've known Josh since he first started. And so I was like, brother, you want to get in there at some point? And he's like, bro, I want to go fucking rock and roll with you. I want to go fucking crazy. I want to jump off of some shit. I want to have it one time with you, man. And I'm like, what? Why? What did I do? I thought we were cool. And it was very much a respectful thing too. Just the same things. Like, I mean, I seen you when I was, as a kid, like, and I, just really want to have a fucking wild one with you, dude. So I was like, I'll make that happen, Josh. Like, that has to happen. Of course, he's been on the show for some time, and I hope I'm sure he's got to be getting close, man. I know he's been busting his ass to get back in there. Yeah. So I gotta find a way to make that match happen with Josh Bishop. And I'm sure we'll talk about more, but I am super, super excited for this April 12th show, because I get to team with the Saturday Night Special. And I don't think they've been on any shows that you've been around for, Butters, but these guys, they're basically me when I was younger. These guys like to show up, to the bar, have some drinks, get into a hell of a scrap of a fight, get some half price apps at the Applebee's, and hit on some single moms. That's just that's me. That's young me. So I see them. I've gotten older and more mature, and had to give up on the single moms. I'm a spoken for man, but these guys are, I call them my nephews, because they just. Yeah, I love these two dudes, DD Vice and Marcus Twist. They are they're doing a lot of wild shit out in the Pittsburgh area with some of the hardcore and the death match matches and stuff like that. So these boys are ready to fight, and they call me and Patrick Hayes kind of their drunk uncles, because we brought our blend of debauchery around before they came around, and so them being the Saturday Night Special and me and Hayes' team being the After Midnight Express for one night only, we're going to be the After Midnight Special, and I'm really, really excited to team with those guys on this next show. And then for other guys that I want to wrestle with, man, I mean, there's so many. We talked about Napier last week. I'm just a huge fan of that kid. I was around when that kid was getting started. He's really starting to blossom into kind of that next tier, and I'd love to have a one-on-one with him before it's said and done. The guiding light, Matt Taylor. I'll ask you on that one, Butters. Were you real familiar with him before you started coming around to NeoPro?
No, but I fell in love with the character a lot. I love what he does. He's one of those ones that, like, there's just certain characters in wrestling where you create this character and you create this whole world that this character lives in, and then he can supply a company with endless bad guys because they can all be a part of his cult, basically. And I love characters that they can have an endless supply of bad guys to face, a baby face. And so when I first saw his promos are amazing. Like he cuts really good promos. And I saw a promo and I'm like, I fucking love this character. It reminds me of Far Cry, playing Far Cry. I think it was like Far Cry 4. And I was like, I fucking love this. I was like, this is so perfect. It's not super campy like the Bray Wyatt stuff. It lives for indie wrestling, and he can have an endless supply, and the surprise twists and turns you can take with this character. It makes an indie, like it could take an indie promotion and make them real hot, because if you play it right, and it's perfect. I love it.
You nailed it. And like everything you said about, being this captivating cult leader type and have the endless supply of bad guys. Okay, anybody can do that, but if you don't do it well, like you said, it can't be. It could come off as phony. It doesn't in the least bit with Matt. And I've only had one singles match with him. We did have that crazy ass cage match for the 3-on-3 cage, but I only had one singles with him. And then coincidentally, we share a birthday, and that day is on a Saturday this year. So that's one of those things where I'm trying to angle to see, like, hey, let's find a show on July 26th and let's wrestle each other on that show. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I've been pushing real hard for a outdoor show somewhere around Canton. My buddy lives next door to a bar that would get the license to sell beer outside, and he has a massive backyard next to the bar. So Neo knows about it. They're aware that there's this location that is very willing to sell beer and do a wrestling show on a Saturday. Just saying, we just put some pieces together. You and me, Wilbur, we'll put them together. We'll make a wrestling show at the end of July. It'll be a big old crazy Neo Pro Bash.
And GCW could be in someone's backyard. You guys can do this. You guys can get this done.
Yeah, I think so. And they'll make their money back on beer alone just from the talent. I promise you. I don't know if you've seen celebrate sometimes. But, I'm sure I'm going to exclude some folks, and I definitely don't intend to. Talked about Derek last week. I've wrestled Derek. We teamed together. We wrestled against each other in a triple threat. We've never had a one-on-one. At some point, I need to share the ring with Jessica Havoc. I just do. We've she was in the class like right after mine. I think I got a year on her. And of course, on a million shows together, and we had interactions, but we've never wrestled against each other or teamed together. So at some point, I got to cross that one off of the bucket list and team with, basically my sister in wrestling, man. I think that would be cool.
You and Jessica Havoc would be pretty dope. That's
or we'll
be dope.
We'll brawl it out, man. Like I said, siblings, nobody fights better than siblings. And again, she's as close to a sister as I have in wrestling. So, and she would absolutely beat the shit out of me, and I wouldn't mind giving it back. So, we could do that route too. That's one that I gotta get done before we call it a day.
I also want to talk about. I don't want to get super inside baseball, but I guess we'll do it a little bit. So when we first showed up, and they told us that all the end of every match had to go through you. I think that's a really good thing, so that you're not repeating a lot of stuff. But I also want to know, how much is your bribery fee so that I get priority with my finishes and what I want to do in my matches over everybody else?
It's all negotiable. It's all negotiable. That's the thing. Listen, if especially those main event guys have something and it's right along the idea of what you wanted, you might have to get JHawk's checkbook out.
Okay.
And that's again negotiable. No, that's the other thing. And I've always been a pretty good finish guy. I've always been able to like give me that finish and then work backwards from here. And I talk to all those guys and I tell them, like, you guys are all pros. And there's some young guys, but still, you're all pros. I want you to be able to tell your story, utilize your canvas, but yeah, you just don't want to have, we might have a really, really good creative finish on a roll up, but maybe these two other really good pros over here on the other side of the locker room have the same thing. And there's no way you're going to know that. So I just kind of utilize that to.
That is really interesting that you said that. I didn't realize that you guys did. That is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We want to, we want to tell, the promotion wants to have a certain story being told to go forward. So other than that, we really do let the guys going to have their creative freedom out there. it's their time, it's their bodies, it's it's their story to tell. But again, when you got some really good talents and really good creative guys in there, there's a chance you might trip on each other's toes. And so I like to be able to filter that and make sure nobody's replicating the same thing, and then also knowing what their plan is and then being able to give some feedback, whether, hey, that was a little much, or maybe we need a little more, or whatever it might be. So it helps the show run flow a little better, and it does provide some really good feedback to the talent. And yeah, once I hang up the boots for good, I'll be able to dedicate a little bit more time and focus on that, because, for Endgame, I had a couple of guys come and talk to me about their match, and I'm like, I have to figure out what I'm going to go do out there for 35 minutes tonight. So, I
have to go out there and get destroyed by Beast Man, who just went on an absolute tear in that match.
You mentioned that now, so now I have to ask. So now that brings up a good point. So you're going to get, so this is your last in-ring year, right? What do you want to do? What do you want to do afterwards besides doing what you're doing, agenting and promoting? But what else? What do you want to do in the business?
Whatever anybody asks me, I want to make it better. And I mean, that's a stock answer, but it's true. I want to just keep making it better. If I'm able to give one piece of advice to one guy on one show that they take forward, and I'm not X-Pac, but I mean, he gave me one piece of advice that I took forward, and I'm always going to keep it. So if I'm able to give anything to anybody on that one time, then I did my part, man. And
you feel like you're going to jump in at all, or do you think you're done? Is there no more bumps on that card? Or are you going to go are you going to get something else? Something?
It's never say never, but I'm very, very much at peace with what I've done in the ring, and we kind of talked about it last week. I mean, talked about it this week. There's just fluxes and fluxes of this new, really, really good talent, and if they're guys that don't have the 3 kids and the mortgage payment at home, so they're able to really dedicate more time and focus on that craft. And hey, man, take it, go you go earn it, and I'm happy to step aside and give my place on some of these cards to these guys if they're willing to put in the work and step up and earn it. And I will be there with eyes and ears to help any way I can.
Now let me ask you one more personal question. You wake up in the morning. Are you looking around hoping to not being able to move, or how do you feel at this point in your career? How do you feel?
I got this big old knee brace on my leg here as I'm healing that sucker up right now. Honestly, for being 40 years old and being an amateur wrestler for 10 years before I got into professional wrestling, and the car crashes I've taken on my body, I feel pretty good, man. A little kick in my neck from time to time, and some stuff creaks and cracks, but that probably would happen if you're 40 years old anyway. So altogether, pretty good. And then, there's something to be said to be going out on top, and maybe going out before my body completely breaks down on me. But yeah, man, I feel pretty good. And mentally, I feel like I'm on top of my game more than I ever was before. And so, and on top of all that, I'm always going to be around, because this is my social, this is my social life as well. Mm-hmm. I get to go be a part of something, help make people happy, help entertain a crowd. And I get to do it with pretty much my best friends, a couple times a month. And then we're going to go out to the bar. The After Party Express is going to hit it up. I'm going to sing some Alanis Morissette on karaoke, and we're going to have a hell of a good time after. And I don't want to give that up. I could, but I don't want to. That's fulfilling for me. Just to be around my people and having a good time, and always, and then having that celebratory drink to a show well done and making people happy and everybody being safe. I love it. I don't want to.
What's the go-to Alanis Morissette song?
Head Over Feet.
All right.
Head Over Feet. Okay. Everybody thinks it's going to be ironic, or You Ought to Know, but no, listen, Head Over Feet, man. Underrated jam.
Yeah, I was going to say, ironic is not a great, I don't really like that song as far as karaoke. You need something that's going to get you more pumping. I'm good with that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Head Over Feet's a good jam. Did The Boys Are Back in Town with the entire locker room the last time out. That was always a fun one as well.
That's a good one. Those are good. I like the Alanis Morissette thing. I'd like to see that one day. I think I need to make a ride out for a Neo Pro show and do an after party.
Make it out for the Neo Pro show. Yeah, the after party is kind of the show after the show.
Hell yeah,
worth the drive.
Well, even when you retire, you are always welcome here to come on, tell stories, and maybe even do some reviews with us.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm down. I'm always down to talk to you guys, and yeah, you can't get rid of me completely, man. I'm always going to be a part of this shit. Want to keep making it better. They say you want to leave it in a better place than when you started. I damn sure think that's the case right now, just with the culture and the product both. It's absolutely in a better place, but I still just want to contribute as long as anybody will have me. And I feel very, very welcome in the wrestling locker room. So it's not a bad life, man. Not a bad life at all.
Yeah. And if there are any of the younger guys looking at the show, if you're on a show with Wilbur, pick his brain. If you're on a show with a name, pick their brain. You never know who's going to be willing to give you the advice for one. Some guys will volunteer to you. Freaking Mondo Guerrero just offered me advice on a cauliflower out of the Olympic. I want to get high to him. So, go up and talk to the guy. Get that advice.
Mondo Guerrero. All right.
Yeah, he was sitting at the table by himself, and I went up to him and thank you, man. I think from your match, I'm a fan. He's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a referee." Right. Oh, make sure you count to 3. If they don't get up, it's their own fucking fault. Like, okay. I do that anyway, but I'm going to take, if Mondo Guerrero give me that advice, damn right I'm taking it. Get that advice. Pick their brain, especially if you want to go further than where you're at right now.
Find out how to get invited to Uncle Wilbur's for those steaks and asparagus, because that looked fucking amazing the other day when I saw that photo.
Man, the Whitlock compound, buddy, especially wait till we get to the summer. You'll get to see the big trays of smoked mac and cheese and the pork butts and the briskets. It's coming.
He'll get to see it, but he's not really invited over, right? Let's just make sure we're on the same page.
I'm telling you know what? Keep it up, JGold. You'll never get a trading card ever.
Bullshit.
I'll make 5 of Wilbur before I make one of you. You fucking prick.
Bullshit.
We'll work on getting you over for the Whitlock cookout, Butters.
Oh yeah!
God damn it! Now you're just pandering to him. There's no reason to have him over for a barbecue.
I'm a good person. You shut the hell up.
He talked off air, and again, he's mentioned he would grab the JHawk checkbook and stop at the liquor store before coming over.
That's right. That's right.
We've kind of worked out an arrangement.
Oh Lord!
I love how it's my checkbook being used for this shit. Like I got no pay over any of it.
If he was smarter, he would have said my checkbook, but he said yours, JHawk.
I mean, you're welcome to the $4.12 McKinnon butter. Let's throw that out there right now.
Yeah, that's
You're the one making bank with that Hall of Fame monitor.
That's right. That's the rate. That's the Hall of Fame rate.
Gonna sell a lot of them trading cards to JGold.
You don't leave your house unless you're making a number that has a comma in it.
Man, Wilbur, what do we got? What do we got as far as our plugs? When's the next Neo?
So next Neo is April 12th at the Diamond Royale. It is a triple extreme homecoming, and I mentioned last week, and I'll say it again. I am stoked for this show. I had my first match in that building in February of 2003. So here in April 2005, I'll be going back to this building. Not much like the ECW Arena or the Sportatorium. Nothing to write home about, but it's home for me. It is a gentleman's club. It is 18 and over only. And I will be competing in a Fans Bring the Weapons 6-man tag match, teaming with the Saturday Night Special. We are taking on Cash Inc. and the returning Izzy Lambert. So Cash Inc., my nephews, they want a tag title shot, so they're coming for you. Izzy, I know you like to get crazy, you like to get wild. Well, welcome home. Welcome to my home. Triple Extreme's what I came up on. I was getting my ass beat by Toby Klein and Brain Damage, 22 years ago. And I'm about ready to pay that forward to some of these guys April 12th. We have a whole bunch of other great stuff on that card. And then this Saturday, for anybody's listening, it'll be 2 days after this drops, I will be Springfield Township for OCW Battle Lines. They got a loaded card on there. Matt Taylor versus Jake Ely. Matt Taylor versus Truck Morris. Or is he getting Jake? I can't remember. It's Matt Taylor versus Jake Ely and Jimmy Shane versus Truck Morris. Warhorse and Dontavio against Gino DiCapo, Gianni, Michael Amarico, and Asher Knox in a big 6-man match. So it's a loaded card as well. Still on the rehab with that leg, so I won't be able to get in the ring quite yet for that show, but I will be there and ready to say hello and take some pictures and talk shop with anybody who wants to swing by.
Oh yeah.
JHawk.
All right, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Ref JHawk. My next booking going to be that Triple Extreme show, April 12th. So, gonna be fun.
Nice.
And drinks are on JHawk at that show.
No, fuck that.
You can't.
I'm sorry. Come and try to get me to fucking pay Ric Flair bar tab one night. I do not buy drink for anybody except on an individual basis that I offer. Do not fucking throw that shit.
Charly _Butters on Instagram and Twitter. Keep up with IWGuide on Instagram and Twitter. That's where I'll be posting a lot of stuff. The trading cards will be available here probably starting April 1st. I do believe I'm going to get JGold to send me money to get a lap dance at the strip club show. So that's my main goal, is to get bottle service and a lap dance on JGold's dime for being an awesome boss here at IWGuide. So
Yeah, well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JGold12. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Twitter handle at IWGuide1, the Blue Sky handle at IWGuide, patreon.com/IWGuide. Don't forget about the merch store over at brainbustertees.com. Gorilla Press Apparel. Use the code IWGP24 at checkout when you buy 2 or more items for $20 off your entire order. Check out our podcast friends, our network, the Main Event Wrestling Network, Wrestling Junkies on the Mark Wrestling Podcast, and the new Tuesday Night Delight. It's NXT Night Shift with me and Mr. OTM Kyle. So check that out every Tuesday night at 10:15 as well. Our other friends, our other shows at Odds with Wrestling, the card is going to change. The Super Fantastic Podcast and Marks with Mike. Check out our other friends, Time Capsule Toys, Toy Hio, Rubber City Toys, Neo Pro Wrestling, and Pally's Beef Jerky by our very own Kaplan. That's all I got this week.
You better talk to your buddy Kyle about maybe him making trading cards for you guys.
We're building a brand, Butters. This brand's already established. We're building something.
I'll tell you what, JGold. I will make you a trading card in Series 3 if you fulfill my wishes of a lap dance and bottle service at the.
We'll talk about it.
Just send the IWGuide's platinum credit card over to us. We'll take. I'm pretty sure it's all tax deductible, correct?
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Yeah,
I think it's all a business expense, right? I gotta write Mikey's payoffs as a business expense.
Right, write it all off. That's right. They're the ones who are writing it off.
Until next week, watch more indie wrestling, everybody.
See ya.
Later.
Don't forget to review and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Find us online at Facebook and Instagram at the Indie Wrestling Guide, and on X or Twitter at IWGuide1.